You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another TV show review. And I finally got around to watching South Park Season 25. Now, if you guys remember, I was put off South Park, still am, but I've been getting back into it, and I thought I'd give this season a chance just to say that I've seen it. It was about what I expected, to be perfectly honest. Season 25 was better than Season 24. That's not exactly hard to top, since Season 24 was just two pretty subpar specials, just about the same subject. And then they followed it up with two more specials that weren't part of the season, but are counted as quote-unquote movies. I haven't watched those quote-unquote movies yet. I've only seen the ones that are actually considered seasons. But again, we're not talking about that. Not exactly a high bar. I'd also say it's better than Season 20. But again, not exactly a high bar. Season 20 is pretty fucking bad. Season 25, the easiest word to describe it would overall be boring. Like, there's not a whole lot that actually had me laughing or entertained or gripped or following the characters at all or, like, being really interested. There were a couple of laughs here and there spread throughout the season for the most part, although we will get to one episode that I actually surprisingly really liked. It's still not a masterpiece and is still not as good as the good seasons, but we'll get to it in due time. So this season is 6 episodes. That's the new normal with South Park, is 6 episodes instead of the 10, which was the new norm at that time. And before that, they had 14, and then before that it varied. But with Season 25, the episodes are Pajama Day, The Big Fix, City People, Back to the Cold War, Help My Teenager Hates Me, and Credigree Weed St. Patrick's Day Special. Now, Pajama Day actually had a pretty decent start. I thought maybe it was going to be kind of entertaining. I knew going in that it was going to be a commentary on the whole masking up during COVID thing. Seemed kind of late for that to happen in an episode, because that came out in 2022, so it just didn't seem topical, like, at all. I don't know that anywhere was still doing that in 2022. I could be wrong, maybe some areas were, but it just felt really fucking late. Like, again, that's the thing with new South Park, is, like, they go all in on the current events, but they do it later than everybody else, so it's really fucking irrelevant at that point. That said, I was enjoying the episode for about the first maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And then when it becomes really on the nose and obnoxious and driving in the fact that, yes, we are commenting on masking, do you get it, do you get it, do you get it? It got really fucking annoying and, like, full of itself. And so that by the second half, I was just like, that episode was just kind of there. Like, it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it definitely wasn't good. The Big Fix, probably the one that I hated the most. Not because of the fact that they changed Token's name to Tolkien. That was kind of funny, and they actually retroactively went back and changed a lot of the subtitles on HBO Max to reflect that, while changing when everyone else says his name to say Tolkien, to have Stan and Randy still say Token, because, again, Stan and Randy were the only characters that didn't actually know what his name was. So that was funny, and they followed it up with a meta fourth wall breaking joke by changing the old subtitles. I thought that was kind of funny. It's a little stupid, but it was kind of funny. And there was some commentary on Randy hiring Token's dad as a fucking diversity hire. Which was kind of sort of funny, but the problem is it's Tegrity Farms, and I really hate Tegrity Farms, which, when we get to the episode that I liked, will be surprising that I actually liked it. Randy doesn't treat Token's dad very well, and eventually Token's dad, I forget his name, honestly, quits and starts his own weed farm called Credigree Weed, and I'm like, oh boy, now there's 2 of them, isn't that great? And again, it was just kind of there too. I probably was the most annoyed at it just because of the Tegrity Farm stuff. I'm so sick of the selling weed bit, like that's all Randy is anymore. So that really annoyed me. Again, the episode was overall okay. It's still not as bad as, like, Season 20 or 24, but it definitely wasn't a good episode. It fucking sucked. Now, City People was actually really forgettable. I actually remember very little about this episode, and I only watched it like 2 days ago. City People is so forgettable, I had to look it up to remember what it was. But it's one where Cartman's mom gets a job at a real estate agency, and a bunch of city people are moving into their town, and then Cartman gets a job and competes with her. It was kind of funny, had some character stuff with Cartman that, like, it kind of felt like Cartman being Cartman again to a degree. Although, when we got to Season 26, which I'll review later once I finish, Cartman is acting out of character again in a few ways. Like, that's the thing that bugs me, is the characters don't act like themselves, they just act like whatever's convenient for the plot now, and it's really annoying. Cartman does feel a little bit more like Cartman in this than he did in the previous couple of seasons. But again, I had to look up the episode to remember it even fucking happened, so that tells you just how memorable it is. We got back to the Cold War, which is one of the better ones this season, probably. It's focusing on hysteria about the Ukraine versus Russia war and comparing it to the Red Scare in the 50s. There's not a whole lot that I really got out of it enjoyment-wise, but it was more enjoyable than the previous couple episodes that I've mentioned now. So, I guess by process of elimination, it is one of the better ones because it did get a few laughs out of me, so there's that going for it. Mr. Mackey was pretty funny in it. He had a weird voice, though. Some of the voices are just kind of weird, like, they sound a little bit off in this season, especially Towley, when we get to, the season finale. Towley's voice sounded really fucking weird in that. But Mackey had like a really weird, deep voice in this episode. When I watched the season 26 premiere, Mackey sounded normal, so it was really weird that he sounded so off in this. But all the boys sound a little bit older, because I think they changed the way that they alter the voices, plus Trey and Matt are obviously older now. So a lot of the characters just sound ever so slightly off. It's not as bad as like how SpongeBob sounds now, or how fucking Marge Simpson sounds now, so it's not like terrible, but they do all sound just a little bit off. Except for Cartman, actually. Cartman actually sounds alright. And now let's talk about what I think is the most boring episode this season, Help My Teenager Hates Me. This one didn't have anything to do with politics, so I guess that was a nice change of pace. Like, it wasn't just focusing on the current thing, it was just an episode basically saying that teenagers suck. You know, that's kind of funny, but there wasn't really any jokes that actually made me laugh with it. It's the boys getting into airsoft and having to play alongside teenagers, and then sort of having the teenagers, like, adopted by them, like, forced onto them by the fucking airsoft company. It doesn't really do a whole lot. It honestly just was kind of there. Like, I watched it, it wasn't bad or anything, it was just really dull. Like, I didn't get any laughs, I wasn't really that entertained. There was a couple of moments that I'm like, huh, that's okay, I guess. It was just dull. It was fucking boring. So that goes to show that politics and the focus on current events being the main thing hasn't been the only issue. Like I said, South Park itself has been bad for a while now. This is a prime example of an episode that doesn't even try to tackle current events and is still fucking terrible. It's just dull. Like I said, it's not like offensively bad, it doesn't piss me off, it's just there. Like, it's one that's just a nothing episode. Alright, and now on to the one that surprised me the most. Credigree Weed St. Patrick's Day Special. I put this episode off. I was stalling to not watch it, because I fucking hate Tegrity Farms. But what really surprised me, this is the best episode of the season, hands down. It is really funny compared to the other episodes. Again, it's nothing compared to Golden Age South Park, but this was South Park. It felt like South Park watching it. It was actually pretty funny. I was laughing fairly consistently. It's the St. Patrick's Day special. We got Randy acting a bit like Randy again. He's still focused on the Tegrity Farms bullshit, which annoys me, but you still got Randy being an irrational asshole, getting in a fight with Token's dad, going to jail, and, like, being Randy. So it was actually kind of fun to see Randy have a bit of a return to form, even if he is in the Tegrity Farms bullshit. But in addition to that, the episode was a social commentary on just how everything is, like, so much more serious now to a degree. Like, Butters gets arrested for pinching a girl because it's St. Patrick's Day. And it goes, like, it's commenting on, like, a lot of the fucking sexual harassment bullshit you get now where everything is fucking considered harassment. Like, I remember kids getting in a fight will get charged with assault in some cases now. Like, it's ridiculous how soft we've become as a culture. And this episode commented on that. It was actually pretty accurate, I think. Of course, then at the end of the episode, St. Patrick himself shows up and starts, like, groping and sexually assaulting all the women there and being really creepy. And that was kind of funny, too. Overall, while this episode wasn't, like, spectacular, it had me consistently laughing, and it was a pleasant surprise given that I was dreading watching it because of the title. Another plot point in this season that I thought was marginally funny is Cartman now lives in a hot dog stand. I don't even remember which episode that's in that happens. Probably in City People, because that's the real estate one. That would make the most sense. But that is a new status quo change where he lives in this fucking hot dog stand, which I think is funny. Like, I think that's way funnier than Tegrity Farms as a status quo change. But yeah, overall, this season was pretty bland. It had one really good highlight episode, which, again, surprised the hell out of me that it was as good as it was. Again, not great, but surprisingly good given what it was and what season it was in. So, overall, this season was pretty boring, with one highlight episode and a couple of other moments here and there. I'd say that it ranks somewhere between Season 18 and Season 20. It's not as good as Season 19, but it's probably better than Season 18. I don't know, that's tough. Season 18 is similarly boring, so this is really comparable. Like, it might be worse than 18, marginally, or it could just be because I'm a lot more jaded and put off by the show, which is why I say it might be better than 18, because 18 is really dull. But either way, this is definitely one of the lesser seasons, but it's better than 20 and 24, so I can at least give it that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review. This has been Fugitive Red Eye. Have a good one. Toodles.
Subscribe to Fugitive Red Eye.